Are you a team that's reeling and you need to rattle off a few wins? I've got the cure for you. Playing against the New York Yankees.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm one of your hosts, Stacey Gotsoulias. This episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com, yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. With me, as always, my co-host, Brian McKeon. Brian.
Another frustrating game, hey?
Yes, many reasons why we're frustrated, and we're going to talk all about them. But before we get started, don't forget, subscribe to the podcast on whichever podcasting platform you prefer. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Like our videos, hit the bell so you're notified when our videos go live. So today's show, we're going to preview the finale between the Yankees and the Orioles, and I won't even say it. Segment 2, we will look around baseball and see what's going on. Still a lot of crazy stuff happening. And what on earth was going on with the Mets and Braves? Just embarrassing stuff all around in that situation. But first, more embarrassing stuff all around. The Yankees lose again to the Orioles.
Yeah, it feels like this is starting to feel like the Orioles just had the Yankees number. And the Yankees just, they can't beat them, whatever it is. If I were you guys, I wouldn't be too panicky over them winning the division or not. I mean, the Yankees still would have to lose their last 4. They get the Pirates in the last 3. You got to think of one of the last 3. There's no way the Yankees won't play their full array of full lineup when there's a chance to win the division, right? They're not going to start resting guys until everything's locked up. So they'll play everybody versus the Pirates. You got to think in 3 games, they're going to beat the Pirates in at least one of those games. So the division, I'm not as concerned about. What really just bothers me more is this lack of compete against the Orioles. And let's face it, the Orioles have not been good over the last 2 months, and especially over the last month. You should be handling them pretty well. And it feels like every game for the Orioles, for the Yankees, when they play the Orioles get off to a quick start and the Yankees just don't compete.
Yeah. It also didn't help. The Nestor news did not help. Because I know I said on yesterday's show, I felt positive about it because I thought Nestor was going to do well and show out. And as soon as that news came out, my good feeling went completely away. And I felt as bad as I felt on Tuesday when I saw that lineup. So I didn't even want, I'll tell you guys, I didn't want to watch the game. And at one point for 20 minutes, our Roku TV went down and we couldn't watch the game. And it was when things were starting to get really bad. So I missed some of it. But here's the thing. You get the news about Nestor. That was pretty early in the day, right? Because I think Jack Curry put it out just before 10 a.m.
He wasn't scratched, though. Like, it was just an MRI early in the day. They didn't say that he was going to pitch.
Right. But if you hear that someone's getting an MRI on an elbow, you know something is wrong with that elbow. Clearly, and that he's probably not going to pitch. So I don't understand why the Yankees went with Stroman over Petit, because he's come in, Petit, and the times that they've needed him to pitch, he's done well. And they could have had him start. And instead they put Stroman in, and he's awful. 10 hits in 3 1/3, 10 hits. And then Boone comes out after the game and says, oh, I liked his stuff. He was making some pitches. Where? When was he making some pitches?
That's par for the course. That's especially with Aaron Boone. I know Stroman will use the excuse of, oh, well, he hasn't pitched in a while, getting such short notice of when he's going to come in, and they're all on routine and everything. I don't want to hear it. I don't.
But that's why he shouldn't have started. But that's why he shouldn't have started.
But that's not a reasonable excuse either. If he's going to make a point where he's wants to come out of the bullpen in the postseason, right? He wants to be a contributor to this team. Guess what, Marcus? When you come out of the bullpen, you don't know the inning before if you're going to be coming in the next inning. So, you had a couple hours to prepare for this game. If you're going to come out of the bullpen and be an effective pitcher, you're not going to know up until 10 minutes before you come in sometimes. So, not being prepared is not really a great excuse.
It's different but it's different for starters. It's different for starters.
Agreed. But that to me explains why you can't pitch in the playoffs and in the bullpen.
Right, but you can't do that to him. Like, that was unfair to Marcus Stroman. They should have had Petit come in. Petit was pitching with Scranton. Scranton's season's done. He was ready to go. Maybe he didn't make it to the stadium on time and they couldn't get him to do it. I don't know what the timing was. Yeah, well, he's not in the pecking order anymore, I guess.
But you used him all year. You can't use him for one more spot start. I mean, let's be real here for a second. Will Warren's one of their more beloved pitching prospects that you can't get up in a trade, God forbid, for anyone, right? Where they used him all year in unfair situations with no problem. Middle of the year, spot starts here and there, unfair, traveling, road game, everything. They used him in unfair situations all year, and then all of a sudden now they couldn't do it.
Yeah. Well,
now it was too much. I mean, the whole Nestor thing was handled so poorly, especially when you find out he felt this pinch in his elbow Sunday after his bullpen on Sunday. So why was the MRI not done on Monday? When the swelling was down, why was the MRI? Either the swelling didn't go down by today, and that's when they did the MRI, which at that point, if the swelling is there for 3 days, he's not pitching.
Yeah.
Or they just were negligent and didn't do the MRI for a few days. I don't understand why and how this became. But Stacey, let's be real. Even if the MRI, for whatever reason, they couldn't find an open MRI available in all of New York City for a New York Yankee pitcher all day. Let's just say for some reason that's the case, right? Why would you not tell Stroman earlier on in the week?
Yes.
Hey, there's potential.
This is a possibility.
Like prepare yourself.
Yeah.
Because let's be real. This is an important game. Because if you look at the standings, Cleveland won tonight. So maybe you don't care as much about the top seed in the American League, which I don't know why you wouldn't. Maybe that's the way they're handling it. Fine. The Yankees and Guardians are now tied with the same record. So you can't mess around, right? Like, you got it. You want to go get that 1 seed. And if it's not the 1 seed in this division, fine. You have to be prepared. You cannot be forcing guys to make spot starts with 5 games left in the regular season. It's just not fair to the players, and it's not fair to either pitcher.
Right. It was just annoying all around. Then they couldn't hit Zach Eflin, and there were a couple of instances where they had him kind of in a bind. That one inning when he walked a couple of guys, right? And then was it Glaber that hit on the swung at the first pitch? That is one of my biggest pet peeves in all the years that I've been watching baseball. The going from 0-2 to a walk thing drives me crazy. When a pitcher does it, I don't mind it when a Yankee hitter has that happen, but when a Yankees pitcher does it, and when someone sees that a pitcher walked 2 guys ahead of you and you swing at the first pitch.
Yeah, that bothers me a lot. And I'll say this too. Clearly the scouting report on Eflin the Yankees gave their players was to attack early in the count. Which probably, I'm sure they do have evidence to why that works, because I'm sure Eflin more often than not leaves balls over the plate, tries to get ahead of guys early, whatever the reasoning is. I'm sure there's a reason for why Eflin, they were attacking early. The one that annoys me more is the bases loaded with Jazz Chisholm, because in that inning,
that one too, yes.
Yankees had strung a few hits together. One of the guys on base was a walk, and Chisholm's out there swinging for the fences on the first pitch and pops the ball into the right field.
Yes. Yep.
You can't. Those are they're rally killers. They're inning killers. They're everything in between. Those things can't happen. And especially in big games where these are playoff atmospheres, these are playoff type games, whether you like it or not. That's what they are. You can't just give innings away like that, especially when you're working from behind.
We also can't not mention Dominguez's play, because that just basically set the tone for the game. A lot of people are angry because he's not playing defensively. You can blame him for not playing well defensively. You can also blame the Yankees for not bringing him up earlier when they should have, and maybe he could have gotten more reps in left field, because left field in Yankee Stadium is a notoriously hard place to play. And yes, the catch probability was 95%. The hit probability on that hit was like 7%, and he should have caught the ball. But you can't bring this kid up and then not play him and get angry that he can't adjust to playing in certain spots because you're not playing him. He's also not a natural left fielder. He's right. That's true. Yes, that's true too. It's just,
and he doesn't have a lot of, remember when he came up last year and played, he was playing center field the entire time. So he's not a natural left fielder, and he hasn't had a lot of left field reps in Yankee Stadium. Right. My argument to that would be he's still 1,000 times better hitter than Verdugo is. I don't want to hear any argument. But also, if you want a better fielder in the outfield in the postseason, and your reasoning for keeping Dominguez off the postseason rosters because of his fielding, which I'm sure is what they'll tell you.
Oh yeah, that'll be the reasons. Yeah,
you can just leave Chisholm on the not Chisholm. You can just leave Trent Grisham on the playoff roster, and there's your fielding issue, mister. And no one will mind Jason Dominguez being taken out of a game in the 7th inning for fielding issues in the postseason. Nobody will complain about that.
Yeah, you just have to hope that he doesn't do what he did in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh innings.
But again, that's my point to the whole thing, though. His ability for pop out of the bat and his ability to change a game with one swing is enough of you live with those defensive metrics. There's been a lot of players in Major League history, Stacey, and you know this more than I, that have been butchers in the field, and they've lived with it because of the production at the plate. And Dominguez has that level of production capability. Is he there yet necessarily? No, but he's 22 years old. He will get there at a point in his career. You have to live with it. I'm sorry, a defensive issue in a notoriously tough position to play in Major League Baseball like that, where what does he have? Less than 10 games played in left field in Yankee Stadium? It's really hard for me to sit here. Again, is it a play that should be made? Yes. And Dominguez told you that in his post game too, that he should make the play. There's no excuses. So I'm not going to sit here and say that he shouldn't have made the play. Of course he should have. But a notoriously tough position to play in Major League Baseball for a guy who has less than 10 games played in left field in Yankee Stadium, but again, they're going to use the excuse. I think right now there's about a 70-30 chance that he's not on the playoff roster.
Oh, yeah. I would agree with that. Yes. And I think the Yankees are actually quietly not happy that he made that play, but they're probably happy it's going to make the decision easier for them to leave him off the playoff roster. The thing that bothers me about the Yankees until the 9th inning, it feels like they don't play with a sense of urgency when they need to. Absolutely. They also tend to look so bad against teams that they need to look good against. They can never lose in a normal way. They always have to look embarrassing when they do it. And you're a team that has 92 wins. You should not be this sloppy. Because it wasn't just Dominguez. There were other plays that were made, and some of them didn't.
Oh, go to Glaber the night before in the base paths. It happens every night. Every night there's a play with the Yankees where it makes you scratch your head.
Yeah, and I don't know who needs to do something about that, because there's no reason why professionals are playing this way.
No, you're right. The only saving grace that I'll give you, and I think it is a valid point here, is every team that's competitive in Major League Baseball has this problem. There's no one that's not playing that's not doing this. And the Yankees somehow have the most wins, or one of the most wins in all of baseball while playing like this. I don't understand it. It's so weird when you talk to people on a daily about, oh, well, they, hopefully they can catch the Dodgers with record wise. And you sit there and go, how the heck are they competing for the top record in all of baseball?
Right.
It makes no sense. If you've watched this team all year, it makes absolutely no sense that they're competing for the top record in all of baseball. It really doesn't. And yet here we are.
Here we are. All right, coming up next, we're going to look around baseball because some interesting things have happened in the last 24 hours since our last show. We're going to talk about them. And we're going to talk about the Mets-Braves debacle, because it's a debacle and it's embarrassing. But first, don't forget, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button on our videos. Hit the notifications so you know when our videos go up. Also, reply to the pinned comment on our videos Monday through Thursday. If you would like your questions answered for Fan Mail Friday, we do it every week. And you guys basically produce the show. You ask us questions. We answer them for you. If you join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club, you get top priority on Fan Mail Friday. The link is in the description. And it's not only for Fan Mail Friday. You get text from me. I texted them a lot. And my reaction to the Nestor news was not good, but the insiders would tell you that. You can text us questions and comments and reactions to the games. And we just go back and forth with you. It's fun. And there's a 14-day free trial. Again, coming up next, let's talk about the rest of baseball.
I'm sorry about that, everybody. I'm here to talk to you guys about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Want to play Prize Picks alongside Drewski, Joe Budden, and MMA champ Sugar Sean O'Malley? You can now find community plays under the promos tab on the app to view entries from the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Guys, you can go after everything possible, right? NBA season is getting rolling around. NFL season is at the quarter mark already. How did it move that fast? But we have baseball playoffs. Hockey is getting going. Soccer, European soccer is in full swing. There are so many things you can find all over Prize Picks. And all you have to do is download the Prize Picks app today and use code one word LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. And don't forget that you can catch every pitch of the Yankees hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Yankees. Stacey, welcome back. Sorry about the freeze in my computer there. Very frustrating and very optimal time for the computer to decide to freeze. I want to go over
This is what happens when you go live. Things happen.
Of course. Yeah. Let's just break down really quick the standings of what's been updated since yesterday. Just a little programming note for all of you that are listening. This will probably be the format of our show for the rest of the year until the playoffs are over, right? We're just going to go over what happened, what's going on, and going around the league. So this is what's Yankees have clinched. The Cleveland Guardians have clinched their spot. Baltimore has clinched their spot. Houston has clinched their spot. That is it for the American League so far. No one else has clinched. And everybody in the American League really didn't gain any ground in anybody today because everybody won. San Diego, well, we'll go to the NL in a second. The Mariners beat the Astros 8-1 today, which was, by the way, if you do like to fancy yourself and get involved in the gambling, Stacey, Mariners over Astros today was one of the easiest bets you could have possibly made. A 1 o'clock start after the Astros clinched the division and have a celebration the night prior. Right. One of the easiest bets you could have possibly ever made. I didn't bet it, so I can't brag here either. But I mean, it was free money. Mariners won 8-1. They stay involved in the race. Guardians take a 5-2 lead over the Reds. That's key for the Yankees.
We have one quick thing.
Sure.
And I meant to bring this up. The Yankees do have one fewer loss than
it's a half game technically. Yeah,
and they own the tiebreaker. So the Yankees really need to just pick it up a little bit here and finish as long as
the same record.
Finish with the same record, then they'll be okay.
They do have the tiebreaker. Cleveland's a half game back by technicality, but really they're tied from all ranking perspective. But yeah, I do hear what you're saying. Thank you for the correction. Cleveland, but they did win the game 5-2, so they do have the lead. That is still a win over the Yankees not getting a win today. Yeah. Detroit 7-1 over the Rays. So in their more difficult series, they're actually winning the games there too. So
they are unbelievable right now. There is no stopping the Tigers.
They're a wagon.
They're really scary. Also, they have a rookie catcher named Dylan Dingler, who I think drove in the 7th run, and that might be one of my new favorite baseball names. Just wanted to
Spencer Torkelson, who's one of their top draft picks from a few years ago. He's a first baseman. He's been killing it of late. Everything in their lineup. Matt Vierling has been great, the young player. And here's the catch too. They just called up their top prospect, who is actually playoff eligible. He would be the second starter behind Skubal. They're terrifying.
Yes.
Simple as that. They're a terrifying team to see. Jackson Joby too. He's been out of the bullpen too. He's been tremendous for them too. He still has a 0 ERA. So, I mean, he got called up late. So let's, but they are that good. I mean, like they're the one team I think you can say that you don't want any part of in the postseason.
See, Finja likes Dylan Dingler.
How could you not? They're the one team that I would want nothing to do with. They're just the hot team at the right time. And we talk about how hot the Mets are. The Tigers don't lose ever. I mean, they're playing so unbelievably well.
Yeah.
Rest of the games, we'll get the Mets series in a second. The programming note: the White Sox did win 4-3. The White Sox did win a game.
Man, the poor Angels, how embarrassing!
They're now 38 and 120. The White Sox still have not broken the all-time loss record.
No.
They still have a chance to win their final two games. The Twins won against the Marlins 8-3. So nothing has changed American League wild card standing.
And the Royals beat the Nationals too.
Yes. So
again.
nothing has changed.
Yeah.
Baltimore is still in the top spot. Kansas City is right behind them. Detroit's right behind them. Minnesota remains 2 games behind Detroit. Seattle remains 2.5 games behind them. Pretty hard for Seattle and Minnesota to get in at this point, but they would need Detroit to start losing at a record pace that they haven't lost in 2 months. So we'll certainly see. To the National League. San Diego last night wrapped it up, clinched everything, got everything done. They also seem to not lose. They've been incredible. They're playing really well against the Dodgers.
Well, not only that, first time that a game ended on a triple play and the team clinched a playoff spot
on that play.
That's amazing.
Incredible.
That's amazing. I mean, the Yankees had 2 game-ending triple plays in 2021, but neither of them clinched a playoff spot. So that's just incredible.
To me, the storyline out of the National League is we've focused so much on this Mets Braves series, and we'll get into the logistics of it. But we've focused so much on the Mets Braves series and how critical that series has been, and how both teams need to win, yada yada, the whole thing back and forth. Neither team may need to beat each other in that series to get into the postseason, because Arizona is doing everything they possibly can to not get into the playoffs. Arizona is consistently losing every single night, and they're getting blown out in every game. I don't understand how where the lack of motivation comes from. They're up 5-1 on the Giants currently, so they're up in that game actually. But overall, I mean, they got Zach Gallen going tonight. Montgomery is out of their bullpen actually, if you guys are wondering, Yankee fans. I guess the Giants are trying to maybe prove a point. I don't know what it is, but very strange. They're currently a game tied with the Mets, actually. The Mets are a half game above the Diamondbacks for the second wild card spot, and Atlanta is a half game behind them.
Yeah.
So, they're right there. Arizona could easily play their way out of this. It's really going to come down to that Mets-Atlanta series. That Stacey, why don't you inform us of what happened with that today? Because that was a mess in its own.
Okay. So there is this weather system called a hurricane, and it's heading toward Florida, but it's going to head inland. Ahead of that system, there was rain. Like, there's been rain all over the place. So they knew this was happening. Like, this was in the forecast for a few days, and they had a chance to move games up. They could have moved the game up on Wednesday to the afternoon ahead of the game so they wouldn't miss it and then maybe only have to make up one game. But no, they had to cancel Wednesday night's game and Thursday night's game and move them to Monday. And not only that, Atlanta goes to Kansas City for the last series of the year. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to rain in Kansas City on Friday. So it's possible that Atlanta, if things don't work out the way MLB thinks it's going to work out, with Arizona falling apart and the Braves and the Mets not having to worry about playing each other, Atlanta's still going to have to play possibly another doubleheader over the weekend because there's just rain all over the place. But why would you wait? You knew this weather system was coming. Mm-hmm. They could have scheduled a doubleheader on Tuesday and a single game on Wednesday if they really wanted to get it. This is one of the most important series of the year.
Oh, it is the most important series of the year in baseball, for sure, at this point. Like, these are two teams that are division rivals trying to get into the postseason, with the Mets making a run really since June. Their start was so bad, they had to play out of their mind just to have a chance. They have played out of their mind to have a chance. You couple it with the Braves, who are such a different team they've been in years past, right? So many injuries across their entire lineup. They're filled with veterans that are having unbelievable years, like Chris Sale, who's returned back to old form.
Oh, if they didn't have him, they'd be out, gone.
It makes no sense of what has happened this entire year. And another example too, if I can bring this up too, and it's a little bit off topic, but it's still holding to this topic. Why are new stadiums not built with roofs?
Especially in places where you could get hit with the remnants of a hurricane.
It makes no sense to me that it's an outdoor stadium. I get it; it's a summer sport. It makes absolutely no sense to me. I can't wrap my head around all this. Them not getting this series in, and Arizona's up right now on the Giants. So odds are they're going to have to play. Like, I heard people mentioning that too, because believe it or not, too, the day that they scheduled a doubleheader for in Atlanta, there's actually a Def Leppard concert at Truist Park that same night, Monday night. I guess they're going to tell Def Leppard fans, screw off, and they're not going to get to go to the game. They got to go to the concert. That kind of stinks because baseball's going to take priority because it's at the Braves building. The whole, the whole deal. Yeah. I just can't sit here and understand why. Here's the biggest problem with the whole thing. You guys are aware when the wild card series starts, right? Tuesday. Yeah. That's when the wild card starts for baseball. So for Major League Baseball I know what they're trying to do. Clearly, with the Yankees and the Orioles playing in the second to last series of the year and the Mets and the Braves playing, they're trying to create these amplified series where it come down to the last couple of games. And I get it. It makes sense. And they've gotten what they wished for this year. They have. You got competitive teams. They did it the same with the Diamondbacks and the Giants. They thought the Giants would be better. They're playing now. The Dodgers and the Padres are playing. They've really scheduled a bunch of divisional matchups because they wanted these high-intensity division rivals to be going at each other at this time. On principle, that sounds like a tremendous idea. And it's a really good idea. And it can really work, drive TV ratings, the whole nine. We've been talking about this Yankees Orioles series for, ever now, for 2 months. You got to look at it, though, from a sense of give yourself a little time in outdoor stadiums knowing there could be rain. You can't. They gave themselves, Stacey, the season was supposed to end Sunday. They gave themselves 24 hours, if anything possibly could have happened, to figure it out on the Monday. That's not enough time. No. And it's not fair to the teams. The Mets or the Braves. If either advances, they're going to be a wild card team. They're going to finish that doubleheader and then get on a plane and fly to another city and be at a disadvantage for game one almost immediately. Because if game 1 and 2 of that doubleheader matter for the Mets and the Braves, say the Mets win game 1 and they clinch in game 1 and that second game means nothing. They can't forfeit the game. They have to play. And they can't change their entire roster in that game either. They can't just, DL Lindor and DL Alonso and give them all phantom DLs and call up prospects and have them play in the second game of the they can't do that either. So now you're going to have Alonso and Lindor and Vientos and all these important players for the Mets playing in game 2 when they could have clinched in game 1. Makes no sense whatsoever. And now these guys are going to play in a doubleheader, and they're likely going to play both games because they're going to have to play game 1 to try and win that game. You're going to have them play both games of a doubleheader and then get on a plane and fly to Milwaukee and immediately play game 1 at a significant disadvantage, not only in the bullpen, but also in the lineup. And again, we're not a Mets podcast. I'm not here to defend the Mets. But you guys got to hear what we're getting at here, right? I mean, it's insanely unfair to a team. It really is. And to not leave more. Stacey, you give the doubleheader on Monday, and then Tuesday is a natural off day. No argument. The Mets have a whole day to rest for Tuesday. They get on a plane. Wednesday can be their game. Totally understood. No argument. Now, they're at a complete disadvantage playing the next day after a doubleheader. It's not fair to these teams. Either team that advances, it's completely unfair. And ball was completely dropped by Manfred, Major League Baseball. How could you make a schedule that's like seemingly 9 years long and not take an extra day into account? To give 24 hours to figure things out.
You got to get those extra playoff games in. You got to get the wild card series in. And the only way to do that is to schedule it as close as possible to the end of the season.
So stupid. So stupid.
All right. Coming up, previewing the finale between the Yankees and the Orioles. This episode of Locked On Yankees is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com. Booking.yeah. Okay, so you can explore those U.S. cities you always wanted to secretly learn about, like Houston, Baltimore, Chicago, Boston, but let's talk about Yankee rivals. So right now for the playoffs, Houston. With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay even in your baseball rival city during the postseason. Maybe it's time to taste your baseball competition stadium cuisine. Luckily on Booking.com, you can find the stadium stay that's just right for you. With Booking.com's wide variety of choices across the U.S., you can go incognito to all your baseball rival cities. No matter what team you're rooting for in this postseason, Booking.com can make you a fan of any U.S. city. From hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts to cute bed and breakfast stays, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. I've personally used Booking.com 3 times this year to go to Boston. That's a rival city. And speaking of Boston, they were eliminated finally. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Booking.com. Booking.yeah. Welcome back. Remember, you can catch every pitch of the Yankees hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Yankees. So, this is a good matchup in the finale between the Yankees and the Orioles. It would be better if the Yankees had won at least one game heading into this good matchup between Corbin Burnes, who's 15-8 with a 2.95 ERA. He's going up against Garrett Cole, who's 7-4 with a 3.67 ERA.
Yankees pretty massive favorites in the casino. So after you're done watching the Giants get their butts kicked in by the Cowboys tomorrow night, you can watch the Yankees play the Orioles. We'll see if the Yankees can clinch the division up. I'd certainly like them to before the Pittsburgh series. It gives them a lot of opportunities to get some rest in for guys, not play them in full games. It would be very vital for them to try and clinch the division up in the third game against the Orioles. Also, it gets rid of that bugaboo that's being created of the fact that the Yankees can't beat the Orioles. And it is becoming a narrative. It is. And I hate to admit that if they play in the postseason, it'll be a talking point that it just seems that the Orioles are that team that the Yankees can't get past them really is an aggravating thing for them. The only benefit to that is, and I don't know if you've realized this, Stacey, I'm sure you have, the Orioles' first round opponent in the wild card series will likely be the Detroit Tigers. And that is a very, very juicy series because coming into this year with the amount of money the Orioles spent, with the trades that they made coming into the year, along with calling up Jackson Holiday and the start to the year they got off to, combining that with what they did last year and the amount of money that they're probably going to spend this offseason with new ownership and Corbin Burnes being a free agent, be a really devastating year to see the Orioles be out of the postseason after one round to a Detroit Tigers team that sold at the deadline. So it really could get messy in the AL playoffs. The Yankees, to me, feel like a team right now that could either win the World Series or lose in the first round, and I wouldn't be surprised if either or happened.
Yeah. It feels that way. It's, I don't know. A few of the Orioles wins, though, were more because the Yankees were playing horribly. Like they just did bad things. Like that Ben Rice game. Please. And I don't know. It just happens though.
This game tonight felt a little different, right? It felt like from the get-go, Marcus Stroman clearly didn't have it, although his stuff was really good, according to Boone. The Jason Dominguez error in the first inning really just, again, like it sets a tone for the game.
But the tone was set also with Nestor's injury too, because there's like there's a black cloud over the stadium.
You had a very sour taste in your mouth all day about this kind of game. You just did. With Stroman getting the lack of rest again, the first inning not being able to make that play, Orioles getting off to a quick 3-0 lead, and then the Yankees really never being able to get back into the hump of the game. Even in the middle of the game when they got the 3 runs back, it just didn't feel like they were ever going to get the extra 3 runs back. And then Judge with the home run in the 9th inning. There was a game like this a few weeks ago. I forget who they were playing, but there was a game very similar where the Yankees were down a ton of runs. And I think they lost like 11-9 or something. I made a huge comeback late, but it was just too little too late because of the amount of runs you'd given up earlier on in the game. It creates this problem that, game 1 of this series felt like they gave it away. It did. Between the Glaber error and just the lack of attention in that game, it just felt like they gave that game away. This game felt like a loss. This game felt like a game they were never in it. The day was just not a good day for the Yankees. Yeah. You lose 2 out of 3 against this Baltimore team, it doesn't matter. Baltimore came into this series knowing they needed to sweep. And the Yankees came into this series knowing they just need to win 1 game in the remainder of the season. That's it. So You still get Pittsburgh in the next series. And again, you win the division if Baltimore loses too. So the Yankees can lose tomorrow. They can get swept by Pittsburgh in the last series of the year. And then Baltimore's got to sweep Minnesota. So the likelihood is still very, very, very slim pickings. The Yankees don't win the division. What matters to me more is having a better record than Cleveland and having home field advantage. That to me matters a lot, and it should matter a lot to the Yankees. So a lot of talking points going forward really is what I want to bring up to you guys, because these live shows are going to become a lot more consistent, obviously, during the postseason and stuff. And yeah, our shows are going to be a lot of the same format, right? What's going on in the rest of the league, what this means for the Yankees as a Yankees perspective, and we're going to be diving into a lot of other teams and what they mean. I'd love to know what you guys think. Cleveland did win, Jared. I'd love to know what you guys think of, what are other teams doing? Who do you least want to see in the postseason? Who scares you the most for the Yankees? Because I honestly feel like that's the narrative right now at this point in time with this team is, Stacey, they can get swept out of the first round and I wouldn't be shocked. And they could win in Game 7 of the World Series and I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah. So I don't know how to feel about this team. I really don't.
I know. I don't like that. I always like having the confident feeling like I had in 2009 when they swept the Red Sox in that August series. I was at the Sunday night game, and when Damon and Tex went back to back, I literally said to my brother, like, they're winning it all this year. I feel it in my bones right now. I know it. And I went into that playoffs knowing that they were going to be fine. Like, I just felt it. I was like, yeah, it'll be fine. No problem. And I haven't felt that way in a really long time. 2017 was fun, but 2017 was surprising, especially with the way they lost the first 2 games to Cleveland. And even going into that series against Cleveland, the Yankees did badly against Cleveland in the regular season. So you just automatically assumed they weren't going to do well.
Heck, go back a little further. That whole playoff run started off with the Minnesota wild card game. I mean, that alone was incredible. The Didi home run to this day is one of the most iconic moments I've ever been in Yankee Stadium for. It's the first time I ever felt the new stadium shake. Like legitimately, from having the crowd, the energy, the walk, the Gardner base hit and the walk that set it up. I mean, incredible stuff. I mean, that playoff run was so unexpected. But again, that playoff run was very much of what Detroit's doing right now, to a lesser extent.
But to a lesser, yes.
The Yankees got really hot that year towards the end of the year. They sneaked them into the postseason. They played in the wild card game. They barely got the wild card game at home, if you remember. And then it wound up being at their home building. Luis Severino, you were all confident that, all right, they'll take the wild card. Who knows how further they go past that? Luis Severino absolutely wet the bed in the wild card game. He did. I mean, there were 3 runs on the board, 2 home runs in the first inning. And then, got to say it. And I hate to say it's going into this playoff series, but it's the truth, Stacey. I think Joe Girardi is one of the main key factors in winning that game, because that game, for better or worse, became a bullpen game.
Yep.
It did. And let's be real. Who is there better to manage a bullpen in a postseason series, in a winner go home game?
Oh, in a game like that? Oh, yeah.
That's Girardi. The exact manager you want. And again, I hate saying this now because it makes it worse the year that we're in, but I have zero confidence that Aaron Boone would have handled that game as well as Joe Girardi handled that game. Yeah. I don't know if Aaron Boone would have went to Shad Green in the first inning.
Right.
And the fact that Girardi had the guts to go Chad Green in the first thing and let him go into the third and then bring in Canely and use the roster the way he used it. Aaron Boone would not have. Aaron Boone would have brought in Rodon in the second inning. He would have. Yeah, or no, Wandy Peralta is who he would have brought in. But regardless, he would have used the bullpen in such a different way than Joe Girardi did. That game was won in part because of how the bullpen was managed. It was terrifically managed in that game. That team, and Jared asked a good question. We'll bring this one up just to end this segment in the show today. But Stacey, that 2017 team just had, I know that 2019 team won a boatload of games. That 2017 team, though, just had a magic to them, and they had that feel to them. That team felt like they were winning the World Series, and I really felt that not the Cleveland series, although that the comeback was magical, especially that they lost the first 2 games in the Bronx. It was the first 2 games in Cleveland that they lost. Came back to the Bronx, won those 2 games, the Greg Bird home run, and then to go back to Cleveland and Didi, it's another home run in Game 5. Unbelievable. But
2.
Stacey, what's more incredible to me is after Game 5 against Houston, when they had that comeback at home and the Gary Sanchez double, the Aaron Judge home run in Game 4, you win Game 5 against Houston. Did anyone not think they were winning the pennant?
Oh, I thought they were winning the pennant.
To me, there was no way they were going to lose Game 6 and Game 7. The fact that they did, it killed me. Again, 2019's team was great, and that walk-off that Altuve hit still hurts me, and I still think there was a buzzer attached to him for that series as well. But we can get into that a whole other time. That 2017 team just, it had that feel.
It did.
It had that magic feel that teams have when they win a championship. And, it really is devastating that you're not going to really know for sure because of the MLB giving the Astros players that, forgiveness and not, you not knowing ever if they were actually cheating or not. It leaves me with a taste in my mouth that they were.
Evan Gaddis says that they were.
Yeah. Because, Stacey, that Astros team got so much better as soon as they went back to Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And to take Game 6 and 7 when the Yankees were playing so well for those 3 games in the middle, I find it really hard to believe.
Yeah, that was the thing. I said it before we knew about the cheating. I said that if the series were reversed and the Yankees played all 4 games at home, the 2 games 1 and 2 and 6 and 7, they would have won that series easily because Houston was they played so intimidated at the Bronx in the Bronx. It was really strange to see. And then when you find out why they won and you're thinking, oh,
also, I think 2017 is a really, Andre, I did say Will Warren because even though Will Warren has not been great for the Yankees all year, he's used to making spot starts to them on a minute's notice. And he's been used by them all year in spot starts. Marcus Stroman has not been used that way ever in his career. Will Warren is much more used to pitching this way than Marcus Stroman. And with the way Marcus Stroman pitched in this game, do you really think Will Warren would have been worse?
I know.
Besides the point.
Right.
I also think 2017 is a key year for the Yankees in their trajectory. And if this sort of Aaron Judge era ever wins a World Series, because that feels like the first year you ever discovered that the new Yankee Stadium was a legitimate home field advantage. I was very young in 2009, and I'm sure the place was rocking in 2009, but I've heard from a lot of people that were, going to games in that era and everything that have told me that 2009 playoff run, the crowd felt very corporate. It felt very new stadium, a lot of money to get in, and there's a lot of corporate people through their jobs that are at these games in suits that aren't really necessarily being the best fans imaginable. And there really wasn't a lot of, there were playoff runs in, 2012, 2011 where they should have won. They didn't. I was at the games in 2012, 2011. I didn't leave those games thinking incredible atmosphere. I thought it was a good playoff atmosphere. I didn't leave those games thinking, wow. 2017, I left those home games feeling, how is anybody kind of coming to this building and beat them? And no one did. They went undefeated at home that playoff run. Nobody beat them. And, I'm sorry. I don't know if you were at any of the games in 2017, and I'm sure some of our listeners were. It felt different. It just, being in that crowd, it felt there was no chance a road team was going to have of beating them in front of that crowd. And no one did.
Yeah. Now I'm depressed all over again.
Figure it out. Don't worry. Just get to the postseason.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining us for this really, really long live edition of Locked On Yankees. Sorry we weren't here to celebrate the Yankees clinching. Maybe we will tomorrow, maybe. Although tomorrow's technically Fan Mail Friday, isn't it?
We'll figure it out. It'll be a celebration Fan Mail Friday.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do that for Friday's show. All right, one more time. You can catch every pitch of the Yankees hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Yankees. And I saw the comment earlier who Val in New York was jokingly blaming John Sterling for the Yankees losing these 2 games because he's calling them again. And I don't believe that for 1 second. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. Now go check out the Locked On MLB podcast. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day. The link to Locked On MLB is in our description, so you don't need to search. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And make sure you check out the Locked On Yankees postcast right here on the Locked On Yankees podcast feed, audio, as well as streaming on the Locked On Sports New York YouTube channel. Go subscribe there. It's a new channel, and there's all different things other than Locked On Yankees, but there's a Locked On Yankees postcast, and we want you to listen to it. So you get rapid reaction to all the biggest moments with the Locked On Yankees postcast. So again, thank you for joining us for this live edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll see you tomorrow after the Yankees hopefully clinch.